Eric, how's it going? My name is Nigeria Chambers of Big Gold Belt Media. It's a pleasure to talk to you. I got a ton of questions, but I just want to start off by first asking you, how's it going today? How you doing?
It's going great. It's going great. I'm loving your setup. It looks great. The whole background, everything looks nice and professional.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Oh man, I gotta say I was thoroughly surprised in preparing for this interview. And by all means, I was super interested in wanting to talk to you because your character comes in and really shakes things up this season. But when I was looking you up, I was like, oh, I'm not familiar with this actor, and to my surprise, I had no clue that this is your first major project. Is IMDb correct with me saying that?
Yeah. So I'm more of a musical theater kind of guy. So I did some things in that field before. Just before the pandemic, I was on the road with Aladdin for a few years and did some other things in New York. That's what I got my degree in. But yes, this is my first big television and film project. It's a good first one too.
You took the words out of my mouth. Congratulations to that. This was not the order of my questions, but I gotta say, just off of that, one of my favorite scenes this season comes from episode 7, where we see Gordo stand toe to toe with Monet. And listen, Monet is intimidating. Mary J is also intimidating as well too. And I got to tell you, I was talking to my co-host. I said, if I'm not mistaken, Gordo may be the first character to not back down from Monet's manipulation, intimidation,
Yeah.
any of that, which speaks about the work that you two put on screen, but also speaks about the character. Can you talk about the filming of this scene and your thoughts about it?
Yeah, to be honest, this scene was probably one of my most favorite scenes that we filmed. It came near the end. I think we filmed that scene first, and then my very last thing that we filmed was the scene in the restaurant with my brothers. So I kind of knew my time was coming. I mean, I knew my time was coming. It was that episode. But it was really, really fantastic. I have a really cool acting coach. His name is Vance Barber. And he was telling me before, he was just like, this, now you're just going in there, you're playing for the real, make some bold choices, do some things that would shock you. We got to set that day, and the director, Joy, she kind of gave me the green light to let's just like shock each other. Let's do that, kind of reiterated that information. And what's a shame is that we filmed it probably 30 different times, and each time we did something different. I mean, there was one time where she kind of pushed me and I pushed her back, and I got all up in her face and all these things. And they pick what they pick for whatever reason, and it's still it's a fun scene to watch. But I kind of wish everybody could see all of the other things that happened that day. And it's amazing. I think as a really good actor, your job is to affect the other people to make a choice. And I think that was one of those days where you just really, it's like a game of ping pong, and things are just going back and forth, and you don't know what's going to happen for yourself. You don't know what the other person's going to do. And that was probably at the very least top 3 highlights of my career for sure, was filming that scene.
Yes, it was so dope, man. And I had chills, and I guess for you, I guess it was a little bit different watching the episode, because for me, I had no clue the fate of Gordo by the end of that episode. But at that moment, I said, oh, Gordo's here to stay. Like,
Yeah.
Gordo's not backing down, which goes into my next question, is that Gordo comes off as the pseudo leader within the family. And I know there's like a working sort of democracy within the family, everything goes to a vote and whatnot. But I think it's very safe to say that Gordo commands a lot of the attention and respect within the family. Again, the pseudo leader. Could you describe, as we really see things kind of get shaky within the stature of the family, what Gordo's relationship with his brothers was, and with his mother and Evelyn?
Yeah, I think that obviously at the start, it's very much so Gordo is here with his family. He's a family unit. You see it in the first scene when they go to take this kind of vote, and who knows which one wasn't a part of the vote, who didn't say yes to it. But and I think Gordo didn't say yes to it, but because the rest of the family is agreeing to something, he knows that kind of the way that it works. However, Gordo is the one that leads the circle. Gordo is the one that's having the conversation. Gordo is the one that facilitates the vote. He's a family guy, and he understands this. So I think that when the betrayal of the family starts to happen, one, that's Gordo trying to be like, guys, we have to do this. This is part of our operation. I understand that you think that this is just because of what's going on with Drew and I, but with all of this relationship aside, this is what we have to do in order to cover my tracks, in order to cover everybody's tracks here, and try to move on from what just happened and kind of clear the coast a bit. But then also, I think that the relationship between Drew and Gordo, from Gordo's perspective, is he sees somebody that he can start to build his next family with, his future family, his dome. And I think that betrayal of the family a little bit, or going against what they say, becomes a bit more palpable, because it's for another family type of relationship. So yeah.
Okay, that is interesting. God, there's some more questions just kind of popped in my head, not even in my notes here. Let's talk about a scene that really crushed me, but I think coming from Gordo's perspective, it was the thing to be done. And that's the last time we got to see Berto Colon, who plays Lorenzo. He met his death, which I was just not expecting. I know on one page you see like, oh, I get to take out a character. The next page is like, oh, wait, that's it for me. I would kind of love to know, what was your emotions knowing that you would have Lorenzo's meet his fate?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was wild when I read that page. I was like, oh my gosh. And of course, like, my parents are like huge fans of the show and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't tell anybody. Like, it's just, you want it to be a surprise for everybody. You sign a non-disclosure agreement and all those kind of things. But yeah, I mean, that was crazy. I think that was the episode too where I saw like Gordo and Monet on the same page when I'm reading the script, and you're just like, okay, like,
yes,
I'm here, I'm in the show, I'm doing everything that the characters do on Power. So yeah, I remember it was like getting a COVID test somewhere in like an urgent care, I think, for the show. And I remember like opening it up and being like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But yeah, it was a great feeling, of course.
Yeah. Oh man, I couldn't even imagine. And now we got to talk about the relationship with Gordo and Drew. And we got episode 308 dropping this week. I had a chance to check it out already, so I'm gonna be very cautious about the details of that. But I will say that brings a very important question here about Gordo's and Drew relationship. It sounds like to me in your earlier response that Gordo absolutely was fully invested into Drew and the possibilities of what they could got going forward. I think the audience also can say, hey, this makes sense. These are two people that come from the same background, family drug empires that are sort of trying to separate themselves from that life to create their own life. It absolutely checks all the boxes here. But in this episode, Drew may have other feelings, may have some previous feelings from a previous character, really question that. I would love to know if you could kind of dance around this question a little bit here. If Gordo was here, what do you think Gordo's response would be to Drew in terms of possibly not being on the same page after all of that?
Will you clarify your question just one more time?
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna give just a little bit more detail. And obviously, I can just release this once the episode drops. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make sure that the fans get a chance to check out 308 and then can see what Gordo would have to say.
Yeah.
Everett returns, and we see a completely emotional Drew.
Right.
Drew, in the sense of, I lost everything.
Yeah.
I have nothing. You have it all. And if Gordo was here, I'm guessing Gordo would be so blindsided to think that I thought we had something.
Oh, yeah.
But here you go, for whatever reason, jealous, angry, upset, almost as if Gordo was a rebound in this sense. I would just love to know, with that being said, what would Gordo's response be to all of this?
I think it kind of depends. It's actually interesting. There was a part in the episode with the repast that like some things didn't make it into the episode, and there was a part where Drew or Gordo kind of sees something kind of going on between the two. So I can kind of base it off of, I guess, that reaction. But there was I think just like a lot of hurt, honestly. I think like Gordo is he's cocky and he's confident and all of that, but I think too he's very just kind of like sad boy vibes at times. And I think at first it really just would be the like, man, like I really thought if I was going to break this like business and pleasure thing that it would have been worth it. And I really can't believe that I got fooled. I think it's like a lot of anger, but then like just like hurt, deep hurt for sure.
Yeah, listen, I was rooting for Gordo. This has been one of my favorite characters this season. I saw that, I was like, Drew, for real. And like, I'm so conflicted because when I love Drew, I love Lavelle. I think it's a fantastic person. I'm just like, oh, this isn't the move, man. Come on now. And it's funny because I find a contradiction in Drew, because he absolutely just got on his mother about Poppy. I haven't even had his body coat yet, and you already on to the next. And it's just like, hey, you obviously still care for Gordo, regardless of the decisions you made. His body's not even cold yet, and you're already back confessing to Everett, like, oh, well, I love you, I got nothing. And it's going to be interesting. Which to one of my last questions here is, what is the family going to do about Gordo? Again, there had been, it can be deemed as mild conflict within the Castillo family, but nonetheless, that's still family. What do you think the ramifications of Drew and his actions once they all find out, and then possibly Monet and her actions as well?
Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen. I know for me, who is very invested in Gordo as a character, I really want justice to be served. Unfortunately, the way that this show goes, I would not be surprised if justice was not served.
Yeah.
But I do think serving the justice would make for a really nice storyline. So like, I'm hoping that my death is avenged. And I know I've got family members that, they're going to at least have some questions. So I'm excited to see how the character lives on a little bit, even after I'm out of the picture. But yeah, I mean, I tend to think that at some point the secret's going to come out. It's TV, it's power, it's all those things. So I'm hoping it does. I want to see some shit blow up.
That's a fantastic answer, because if you learned anything about Gordo, when justice needs to be taken account of, well, that's what he's going to do. And hopefully the family, the brothers and everybody also lives by that same motto of like, hey, this ain't right, we need to make it right. So if they don't, I'm gonna be looking at them like, listen now.
I know. Let's hope. My fingers are crossed for it.
Well, listen, I say this to everybody I speak to within the Power universe. Yeah, while your character may no longer be on the show, you're forever in the Power family. I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed your work. I was absolutely intimidating in talking to you, because I was like, that's a stone cold killer. So and Gordo has charm, you have charm, and I'm just like, listen, man, like, these the type of people that you kind of scared to cross paths with, because you just never know, you know what I mean?
Smile through it too, just smile and laugh right through it, and be your best friend and then slit your throat. It's terrible.
But I'm truly looking forward to your next work, man. And again, thank you so much for what you brought to the show, to the fans, and as I said, you forever live in the Power family.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody, for checking out this interview. We'll catch you back for more content very soon.